Will you save the recording for this session
Yeah, of course.
on YouTube?
Uh, yes.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so hello everyone. Welcome to another open seminar at chinta.com. Today we will be discussing a very well requested topic. We will basically talk about applying for American universities after high school and after undergraduate. Like if you are doing college in India, some people do that all the time. They do their college or undergraduate years in India, and then they apply for American universities. So there are these two groups of people, and no matter which way you go, whether you go in the undergraduate level or if you go in the postgraduate level, we this discussion will be useful for you. And I have divided this session into two different parts. In the first part, I will be discussing some of the tools that you can use to plan your path towards some of the best universities in the world. I will also discuss how some of the students at Chinta have done it. The second part is a question answer session where we will discuss some of your queries, and maybe from there we will go another step and discuss some of the resources that you can readily use right now. Again, thank you for joining in. I should introduce myself. My name is Ashwini Dashgupta. I'm a faculty at Chinta.com. I'm a mathematician by profession. My research area is geometric group theory. It's a very active field of research in mathematics. I did my PhD from Wisconsin, and thereafter I am a faculty at Chinta.com. So let's start the discussion with for the school students, and then we can go to the college and university students. The first step would be, if you are at the school level, maybe you are in fifth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade, going up to 12th grade. What are some of the things that you should be focusing on right now, and what are the things that you should know? So the first thing is that, unlike Indian universities, in India, the best universities like IITs or some of the central universities have their own entrances, and the admission is based on those entrances. Unlike that, American universities rely on something called an application packet. So, an application packet usually contains multiple things, but the most important components of an application packet are the your grades. Of course, that will matter, your school grades. So it's very important if you can maintain consistent good grades in your school. And if you are not able to maintain consistent good grades, if you have some past history of bad grades, it even helps if you can show that you have improved from there. uh, an upward moving graph or a consistent high graph in school grades will be important. That's the first component. The second component, which is also equally important, is that some of the universities may require tests like SAT and TOEFL. TOEFL is an English language test. It tests how well you can communicate and understand English, and SAT is more of like an aptitude test. So the books that I usually refer to the students who are taking our mentorship for this is the book by Kaplan. So I'll write it in the chat. Maybe it will be useful. There are multiple publishers like Princeton Review and others who also publish great books on SAT and TOEFL. There are multiple companies and organizations out there who which provide training for SAT and TOEFL, but in my personal opinion, you should not need those sort of training centers for SAT and TOEFL. You can very well do it on your own, and if you get hold of a good book like the one that I mentioned, that should be sufficient. Of course, if you are in college or university level, instead of SAT, you have to take the GRE, but that's a different story. So I'll come to that later. That's the second component of the um, application packet, the high school grades and the SAT and TOEFL as a second component. The third component is the statement of purpose. Usually, most universities will ask for statement of purpose. It's basically an essay which contains uh, your personal motivations for applying to that university. Now, statement of purpose is a really big story because that really impacts your application prospects. And there are a few mistakes that students make sometimes, and we see them all the time in our mentoring process. The first mistake is some of the students tell their personal life story in that statement of purpose, but the purpose of the statement of purpose is not to tell your own story. That can be a part of it. It can definitely be a small and significant part of it, but the main use of the statement of purpose is very clear, and you should definitely understand it. The main use of the statement of purpose is why you are applying to this particular university and this particular department, and what makes your application stand out amongst others. It's what's your purpose, that's the question. So usually there is a design process of the statement of purpose. You have to do it carefully, but usually what you should be doing is that you can research the professors who are teaching at that university, and you should mention some hints in the statement of purpose about the work of the professors that you have read. The admission committee will definitely take into cognizance that you have been studying the department and its activities. So, for example, you could write that I have seen X professor's work in, let's say, number theory, and I have tried to read some of his papers, some of his research, some of his books, and that motivated me to apply to this department. So, this is usually a distinctive paragraph or maybe two paragraphs in your statement of purpose. You have a statement of purpose. So, you are probably applying for, let's say, 10 universities. These universities usually have a hefty application fee ranging from $50 to $100 per university, and usually we recommend that students apply to 8 to 10 universities. Now, therefore, you have to really prepare for 8 to 10 statement of purposes. Each of these statement of purposes will have something in common, but should have these different paragraphs addressing that particular university and professors from that particular university. So you can imagine that choosing the university is really a very big step. I'll come to that, how to choose universities, but let me first finish with statement of purposes. The second part of statement of purpose could include some of the work that you might have done, which can be research that you might have done in school days, which might be internships that you might have done in school days. But the understand this very clearly, that the goal should not be saying that okay, I have done this, I have done this, I have done that. No, The goal should be saying, okay, I have done this, therefore I'm applying to your department. For example, you could say, I have done a research project on graph theory, and therefore I found your department, which contains, by the way, excellent computer science programs and mathematics programs where graph theory is in a very big part of its research. So I found it. So I would very much like to join the department because I know about it more because I did this research project in graph theory. So you have to understand whatever you are mentioning in the statement of purpose, whether it's research, whether it's internship, whatever it is, you are not mentioning it for just for the sake of mentioning it. You should be tying it to the university's research and so on. You definitely don't need to present a proof of what you are claiming. I'm going to talk about that later, about how to give additional material. Okay, so again, so statement of purpose should contain a paragraph or two for the particular university that you are applying to, and it should contain a paragraph or two about the research and the internships that you might have done, but in a very intentional manner. You should be connecting it to your purpose of applying to that particular university. It should be all connected with the word purpose. Purpose is the very important word here. It's a key word here. Okay. Again, do not tell your sad stories in the statement of purpose. We all have our lives. There are struggles. Those are very strong struggles, strong elements of struggles in our life. But refrain from elaborating a lot on those sort of things unless you can tie it directly to your purpose of applying to that university. If you can do that, then definitely do mention it. So usually what we do here right now at Chinta is that we sort of group a statement of purpose. We mold a statement of purpose with a long term perspective, and we read it and proofread it and so. Again, another component that people, another mistake that students do all the time, that if you are applying to some of the top universities, do not fake in your statement of purpose. You don't need to say that you have solved the Riemann hypothesis, because of course no one will believe that, number one. Secondly, it is not effective to fake because these people are pretty experienced. They will probably figure out that you have faked it. It's better to keep a normal tone and say all the things that you have done very precisely and connect it with the purpose of attending to that university or applying to that university. So designing a statement of purpose can be very, very important and impactful. And if you are in doubt, definitely reach us out. If you are part of the mentorship program, reach us out. Someone will proofread it. Someone should proofread it, and you should be planning this statement of purpose at least years ahead of your time, if not months ahead at least. It's not just you sit at your desk and write it one evening. No, it has to be very planned, very well planned. Okay, so that's the third component. So high school grades, SAT, TOEFL, statement of purpose, three components you already have. The fourth component, and it's very important, is called the recommendation letters. Sometimes you need it. Some universities ask for recommendation letters. Some universities ask for as many as three recommendation letters. In fact, if you're applying for graduate level programs after your college in India, college or masters in India, you're applying for PhD, let's say, there you would need at least, in most universities, you'll need 2 to 3 recommendation letters. Now, this one can be tricky because the recommendation letters are only impactful if they are personal in nature. So, for example, You could, some students do this, they ask a very high profile person to write a recommendation letter for themselves, and maybe they know that person through some connection. Unfortunately, that letter would probably not contain any personal remarks about the student, and therefore its value would be highly diminished. Now, there is a way to design recommendation letters. You have to plan at least months or years ahead of time. How you do it is that you attend some research project. This is where the research projects and the internships come into place. You attend some research projects, you attend some internships, you do real work with people, preferably people who are in your nearby university or school, and sometimes it's effective to do it with researchers who are connected to some US universities in some way. That is pretty effective as well. uh, you do some research project and you do some internship, and then you get a recommendation letter from that person, your research advisor, your internship advisor or internship mentor, or someone who has taught you. So ideally what we suggest at Chinta is that you get three recommendation letters. One of them is from a research advisor, so definitely try to do a research project during your school time. One of them is from your internship mentor, so definitely try to do some social responsibility type internship. I'll talk about that in a moment. Internship mentor should give a recommendation letter that should more talk about your work ethics, your teamwork, and stuff like that. And third one should be from your teacher, your school teacher, or if you are in college, your college teacher or professor, who has seen you for a long amount of time grow in front of their eyes. And I cannot even uh, overstate this, that a true sounding personal recommendation letter, how much impact it can have on the student's application process. It can impact the amount of funding you will get, it can impact the scholarships, it can impact your admission prospect, and so on. So that's the fourth component. And I told you how to think about how to plan the three recommendation letters. You may need up to three. Sometimes they say you need one or two, but you can add more if you want. So I always recommend three: research, school teacher or university professor, and internship advisor. So three is a good number, and that's a very strategic number in some sense. Okay, so you have these four things. So I have mentioned four things up to now. Again, I should remind you, the grades in your school, very important. The SAT and TOEFL score, very important. The recommendation letters, that's also very important. And your statement of purpose, eh, very impactful. So apart from these four things, which are sort of the necessary tools, sort whatever what everyone will be doing, what everyone has to do in their application packet, there should be a secret sauce in your application. That's what I call it, a secret sauce. So what is a secret sauce? Well, it is something that distinguishes your application from others, that reflects your passion for, in this case I'm talking about mathematics, your passion about mathematics from others. So how can you distinguish it? How can you distinguish your application from others? Well, there are actually several things that you should be doing, and if you plan it well ahead of time, this can be done in a very good way. So I will suggest, add three secret components to your application packet. Three secret components. One of them should be your math Olympiad scores. Now, I cannot even overstate how important this can be. If you are doing really well in a national level math Olympiad, you might be eligible for the top funding and the top universities. I'll give you one example. You will actually, I'll give you two examples. So let me share the screen. I have opened it up so that you can, see it. Uh, yeah. So I think all of you can see it. So here is an example. Oops, sorry. Yeah. Here is an example of one such funding opportunity. This is known as the UCLA Math Undergraduate Merit Scholarship. UCLA, maybe you have heard about it, it's one of the best universities in the world. And the undergraduate merit scholarship, what does it do? Well, it actually provides for the entire tuition fee, and it's applicable for, the word is renewable for 4 years, and it provides for the tuition fees, the room, and the board. So basically, it's a free ticket. It's a free ticket. And how do you go for that? Well, you show that you have outstanding academic records, evidence of exceptional background and promise in mathematics. How can you show it? Well, here it is. Placing in the top 25% of the USMO, the USA Mathematics Olympiad. But if you are not eligible for that, on a similar national competition. So if you are applying from India, INMO, Indian National Math Olympiad, will be a similar thing. Okay. Okay. So I'll come back to you, Ayushi, later. So coming back to this, the UCLA, this is the example of one of the scholarships that I am talking about. This is an excellent one. I mean, this explicitly mentions that it's everything is will be covered if you qualify for this. I'll give you another example. This is not in US. This is not in US. This is in NUS. NUS is National University of Singapore. So National University of Singapore is really another great university. It's one of the best universities in the world, and it has a very similar thing going on. So I'll give you an example. So this is special consideration. So this one is for informatics Olympiads. This one is for informatics Olympiads, but it's also true for special consideration for admissions for medalists in physics and mathematics competitions. So again, the same thing, if you do really well in one of the mathematical Olympiads, you will be considered for these sort of funding opportunities, and of course for admission itself. Now, many universities in fact, may not explicitly have an opportunity like this. I mean, they may not mention a scholarship name which just says that, okay, if you do well in such and such Olympiad, you will get a scholarship or something like that. Maybe they do not have a explicit scholarship in that name, but even then, the funding opportunities may highly be affected by your performance in the national level math Olympiads. So that's why we stress it over and over again in our programs in Chinta, that you should always try to do really well in some of these contests. Now in India, the only valid contest will be the IOQM, RMO, and INMO. All other Olympiads that you are taking, the so-called private companies led Olympiads, they have no value, absolutely zero value. So you should be focusing on only IOQM, RMO, and INMO in India. And if you are in US, you can focus on the AMC, American Math Competition, AME, and USMO. So if you do really well in these, and if you can go up to national level math Olympiad, you will succeed in some of these scholarship possibilities. In fact, last year I think two of our students did exactly that. And you know what, one of the statistical things that I tell this every time to our students, all the students that we have, that if you are attending the problem solving classes at Chinta, the 5 days or 4 days a week problem solving classes, apart from the regular concept and homework class, the statistically speaking, your ability to crack these contests will be significantly heightened. I mean, something just came up, I think, yesterday. There is this ISIB Stat B Math entrance. Its results came out this year. I should not. I mean, they just had the written part of it. The interview is still left out. But in the written part of it, we have 13 or 14 students qualifying this year just from Chinta. This is from 200 students from all over India. And the fun thing is, these 13 or 14 people constitute the 90% of the population who attended the problem solving sessions regularly. We had about 50 students or a little bit more than that. These 14, 15 people attended the problem solving sessions regularly, and a few more actually. And the strike rate is 90% there. This is amazing. So I strongly request, if you are inside Chinta, if you are right now taking a course at Chinta, do attend the problem solving sessions, even if you feel that you are, it is a bit hard at sometimes. You have to do it every day. Only then you can succeed in this sort of context. Okay, so again, coming back to the secret sauce, the first secret sauce is the mathematical olympiads. Excellent. Or informatics olympiad, or physics olympiad, any of them. If you can do well at the national level, it is outstanding. It's great. It will take you a long way. The second thing is the research project. uh, it's again an outstanding um, opportunity to do it, like to distinguish your application from others, to distinguish your application from others. So what you should be doing is that you should be enrolling in a research project under someone who has been advising research students at school level. Maybe it is a reading project. Reading project means you are just reading some different type of mathematics, something other than your school math, and you are reading it for, like, let's say 6 months or 8 months, and you are reading some papers on it, some books on it, and then you just write an expository paper. What is an expository paper? An expository paper contains the existing knowledge. It doesn't contain a new knowledge, it doesn't contain new findings. It contains existing knowledge, but it is presented in a very personal way. It is presented in a way that has not been presented before, maybe. And at in Chinta we have some of those research projects going on, but you don't have to do it in Chinta. You can do it at somewhere else. That's also fine. You just have to find someone who is willing to work with you in a research project. Maybe it's a reading project. That's totally fine. You do some out of school, some advanced math reading. You read some books, you read some papers, and then you write an expository paper, and if possible try to get it published in some journal. For undergraduate levels, what the journal that we suggest, I'll just share it in the, like, I'll share it in the screen again. It's called the Mathematics Magazine. It's by Mathematical Association of America. This is a very interesting journal where undergraduate students publish research work. Now, if you are in school, you are not in undergraduate student, you're not an undergraduate student, you are a high school student, or maybe a middle school student, but that's totally fine. I mean, even school students can publish if their work is really good. So you have to work hard toward creating a paper like this. Now, it is possible that you might not be able to get it published. That's also fine. If you have a paper, then you can send it to the university during application, as something called an additional material. Additional material. There is always an option to send out PDF files as additional material to your university where you are applying. So it will not go bad. Like it cannot be wrong to do a research project. It will always benefit you. And of course, you'll be learning so much. You'll be working with an advisor who has probably thought about these things, the topic that he's advising on. He might have thought about these things for years. So you're taking a leaf out of that experience, and you are learning something new about mathematics. It is really, it can help your learning process as well. That I think is the right way to see it. It's not everything should be about some plan for an application, but again, it also comes in very handy when you are applying. So number two is the research project, and we have at Chinta we have had students from ninth grade who have joined research projects, who are doing it right now. I think this week only on Tuesday I was working with a group of kids, mostly ninth, 10th, 11th graders, and we were doing mathematics at midnight. I mean India time. From 10:30 we started. After all the classes in the day, I put the session at late night, and at 12 o'clock we were discussing hyperbolic geometry. It was kind of beautiful. I mean, the kids were all wide awake, they were participating, interacting. It was pretty nice actually. So doing a research project is a different type of experience altogether. I strongly suggest you do that. That is the second component of your secret sauce. The third and the final component of your secret sauce is the internship that I mentioned. Now, again, you have to design an internship. It need not be related to mathematics. It can be something completely different. Maybe you are teaching in a slum. Maybe you are doing something related to climate change. Maybe you are working for some restaurant. I don't know. It can be something different from mathematics as well. As long as you are working in a team environment, and you maybe you are getting paid a little bit, that's also fine. uh, in Chinta, we actually designed some of those internships known as math circles, where some of our students participate and they teach some rural kids from different parts of India. But that's one way to go about it. There are many other ways that you can do the same thing. Maybe you have a business idea, you can create your own little company and do something in that. There are hundreds and thousands of ideas like that you can pursue. The main idea is that you should be part of something that is building something different other than your academics. That's what internship or a workplace does. It creates value. It creates value. Maybe it's building a product, maybe it's giving a service, maybe it's doing a charity, whatever it is. If you are part of it, then you are part of building something different from your narrow academic career. And that's a very important, crucial factor in your journey toward this application process. It also improves you as a human being. It's That's why it is so important for the American universities. They value diversity a lot. For example, if you are just narrow minded and just thinking about mathematics all the time, maybe you do not have the diversity, maybe you do not have the breadth to work with other people to innovate. So they would prefer someone else who has something like that over you. So that's how the university admission systems work. They want to see diversity. They want to see diversity, and that can be displayed using the internships that you might have done. So again, if you are part of Chinta, you can obviously take part in the math circle internships. You can teach rural students. You can go there to conduct workshops. You can do it online. I mean, there are certain opportunities. We have a very active person. I can remember. I think Shourodip Dash from class 11, who is very very active, and he works with a school from Sundarbans, and they have been working for over a year now, and it's a really wonderful experience as well. You know what? Even if you start this thing, keeping in mind that okay, I have to apply to a university, that's why I am doing it. After you work for some months, you forget about that. You just work because these kids are so lovely. Your work gives you motivation, and that's how it should be. It should not be always tied to that, one thing. So this is the entire picture now. I think it's much more clearer to all of you. I will repeat what I just the steps that I said. First is the high school grades or the middle school grades. You keep it as high as possible, or at least you show an increasing slope. So you show that you are improving. The second is the SAT and TOEFL, which is you should try to keep an excellent score. I mentioned a book by Kaplan which you can use to prepare for it. The third is the statement of purpose. I told you to mention the distinctive paragraphs for each university that you're applying to. And I also told you to add paragraphs where your research or internship that you might have done, you tie that to that purpose of applying to that university. And I also told you to keep your personal story, reduce the amount of personal story you tell in the statement of purpose. That's the third thing. The fourth thing was the three recommendation letters that I mentioned: one from your teacher in school or college or university, one from your internship mentor, one from your research advisor. This is a good plan. And the fifth thing that I said is a secret sauce which contains three components: Math Olympiad, research project, and internship at something either related to math or might be something completely different. So, this is the main plan. Now, uh, one aspect of university applications is, of course, choosing the universities. And what usually happens is that if you are studying for mathematical Olympiads or if you are doing a research project, usually after a certain amount of time, your interest area would emerge. For example, you might be interested in number theory, you might be interested in algebra, maybe complex number part of algebra, maybe you are interested in geometry, maybe you are interested in something else. I mean, which part of mathematics really intrigues you, you will be able to know that. One of the most important parts of doing mathematics is that you get to know about yourself. It's really like meditation in a way. It's an inward journey. You get to know about yourself. Are you good with spatial patterns, things in the space? Or are you better with numbers? Are you a kind of guy who likes discrete stuff? Or are you a kind of girl who likes continuum? So these are really themes in mathematics that you see inside yourself, and you discover, okay, I like this. Sometimes you discover that, okay, I like this, but I am good at that. I like geometry, but I am good at combinatorics. So then you have to make a strange choice. That what do? You go for what you like, or you go for what you are good at. So you have to make those choices. But once you do those discoveries, then you should be talking to a mentor, or you should be talking to your teacher, or you can do it yourself, and you can try to make a list of 7, 8, 10 universities which have that interest area in their department as an active research field. So this is a long term process. You have to discover what you like, and then you have to find out which departments are most active in doing that. Now there is a false sort of thing that goes on in the market, where you look at the rankings of the universities. Actually, the rankings are published by private companies which have their own vested interest in it. So there is another way you can choose universities. Instead of choosing by rankings, you can do it using Carnegie Mellon University's R1 status. So I'll write it in the chat: R1's universities. R1 universities are those universities which have very high research intensity. And this classification is coming from one of the best universities, not a private company, in US. And that is called, it's from CMU actually, it's Carnegie Mellon University. And if you look at the R1 status, and if you choose from any university which is in the R1 status, you will be fine, provided it has the department which coincides with your interest area. And it will help you to write the SOP, the statement of purpose, very well, because then you exactly know, this is my interest area, I like number theory, these are the R1 universities which are really good at number theory, so I'm applying it. Okay, so that is the selection of university thing as far as it goes. Now I will just mention two things for university students, the students who are doing undergraduate or college in India and masters in India, then going for a PhD in US. Everything that I said applies for this, except that you have to replace the SAT and TOEFL by GRE and TOEFL, GRE and TOEFL. So that's a separate test, and the book suggestion remains same. You can still do Kaplan. Of course, from the secret sauce, you should leave out the um, math Olympiad, because at university level there are not many good math Olympiads. There are some from India, for example, there is Madhava math competition. From in US there is Putnam and other stuff like that. Instead of that, you should focus more on research. If you can have a couple of research paper, undergraduate level research papers, that would be really nice. And the third thing is, for the undergraduates or in the master's level, once you have decided on your interest area, maybe it's group theory, maybe it's topology, maybe it's analysis, whatever it is your interest area, once you have decided on that and figured out some of the universities that you think are really good for you, then you should individually write to professors in those universities, and express your interest in their program and try to learn more about them through that individual email communication. And you should be starting that at least 1 year before application. What happens is, when your name will come up during the admission committees meetings, that professor those professors will recognize it, that okay, this guy or this girl was interested in my research. And that really impacts the entire process, and that's how it should be actually. Because if you are doing undergraduate or master's level mathematics, and if you have found your area of interest, you should be communicating with professors who are, active in that area. So that's how it should be. And I encourage you to actually email the professors, and many of them are really nice. They will respond you right away, help you with books, you can read more, and so on, read more papers, books, and so on. Okay, so this is in a nutshell what I recommend that you should be doing. Now I will open the floor for questions. Please raise your hand, and you can ask me questions if you want. I just change the layout to tiled. Okay, Swastik Mishra, please go ahead, what you have.
Sir, I was asking about the research project that you're telling. Like,
Okay.
I've been doing research for a couple of, say, months or years, like 1.5 years, and I want to figure out that what is like a publishable research. For example, I've come across several ideas, but I don't know that what is the basic level which we could publish a publishable
Yeah,
research for.
so to answer your question, you should look at previously published research papers. So I put a link in the chat. I put a link in the chat. You can definitely click on that and try to find previous volumes of this particular journal. Some of them are actually available online. Some of them may need a subscription, but there are ways to work around that. I'm not going to suggest how to do journal piracy, but there are ways to do that. Anyway, the point is that you can look into the previous volumes of undergraduate level research journal, and you can try to see what kind of work they expect, and that will give you an idea. Okay, okay, all right. So I will give you one. Okay, maybe you can just look into that. Yeah. So Divya Khandelwal, please go ahead.
Okay, so if I want my child to apply for a research program or research project
Yeah.
with you guys, and along with that, if in case we go ahead for an internship, so is there any selection criteria, or you guys help us in that? Because right now I'm not too sure about his level on mathematics, though he's very, very keen on maths for sure. He loves mathematics, but of course we need some guidance, some mentor or some trainer who can help him
Yeah.
to he loves it to, and to extend, or to increase that level of interest in him, so that he can work on this research project
Mhm.
with you, and can also apply for internship in mathematics. So how can we do that with Jetta?
Yeah, yeah, of course. So I'll tell you the way we do it at Chinta. What we do is, we first, there are actually more applicants for research projects than we can presently handle. Uh, so what we this is how we do it. Whenever an advisor or a faculty plans to offer a new research project, we post an introductory seminar on it that is open to all. So every in one who is interested, and that is posted in all our WhatsApp groups, it is emailed to people in our database and so on. So whoever is interested, they can attend that seminar, that 1 day seminar. And after that, a form is posted where if people want to participate in that particular project, they are invited to fill in that form. Now, priority is given to students who are doing mathematical Olympiad program with us, because we have the data to know whether they are consistent, whether they have the analytical ability to succeed in the program. Because in a given group, we cannot add more than 10 people. Like 10 is a very high number. In fact, we most of the times we have much lower numbers in a particular group on a research project. So priority is given to them, and then the remaining candidates are invited. So we make an initial selection, a screening, and they're invited for a chat with the advisor. So now the advisor might take a small test. He or she might do interviews with each student, and then select a few kids who will be finally attending the research project. uh, this step depends largely on the advisor. So that's how we go about it. So if you are interested in that, you can always wait for the next upcoming open seminar on a new research project. That's
So
about the research. Yeah.
So I have two questions here. In case if he gets rejected, one, and second, if he does not like the topic of the research, can he apply for something else?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
there are two
of
questions you
course.
can answer.
If he does not like that one, he can apply for something else, and so on. That's definitely possible. And if he gets rejected, he can apply for something else.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
For the internship, you can mention it in the WhatsApp groups that we have added you. Maybe you are in one of them. If you are not, you can go to chinta.com and click on, there is a WhatsApp button at the bottom of that. You can click on that and join us through WhatsApp, and then ask
Sure.
us for that internship possibilities. If some seats are vacant, we will definitely let you know. Okay.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. Manish VG, please.
Yeah, good evening, Dr. Ashani.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for a very informative talk. I think really interesting. A lot of good things you brought out.
Sure.
Regarding this research project for my son who's already doing this IOQM preparation with you, basically, if he's already got a maths problem that he's working on, can you help us to find a mentor for him to basically take him through the research?
I mean, that will probably be very difficult depending on what problem he has. But you can always, if he is a member of Chinta, like if he is already taking class in Chinta, you have a personal WhatsApp group where you are added to, you can always mention the problem there that your son is working on. And if we have a mentor who is interested to handle the problem, we will definitely help you out. But in general, it's the other way around. That is, for example, we have people, what we do is we have researchers who have expertise in certain areas. So maybe someone has like my personal expertise is in geometric group theory. Dr. Shankardeep Chakraborty's expertise is in dynamical system. Shorain Banerjee's expertise is in algebraic K theory, and so on. So they offer research projects in their expertise field, and some of the sub prod in the for the university students, and some of the sub problems are offered to school students. So it comes the other way, other direction, but definitely you can put your problem as well. And if someone is there, we will definitely circle back to you.
Yeah, understood. So when do we expect this next seminar on this research thing? Because
I
I've been
think
asking this
I
also.
think one of them is coming up in June only. I was talking to one of the prospective advisors. One of them is coming up in June.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Vrajishnu Chakraborty, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Uh, Sir, actually, I I have already passed out class 12, and to my regret, I was not aware of these maths Olympiads and stuff. So
Okay.
I've already missed that opportunity. So what can I do about it?
Yeah, absolutely fine. I mean, this is as I told you, since you are beyond school level right now, you should actually focus your all your energy toward research. In a way, research can be more exciting than the Olympiads, because in Olympiads you are solving known problems. The problems that you're solving, they are already solved. You just have to solve it in a given amount of time as a part of a contest. But if you're doing research, you are solving problems, you are solving problems which are not yet solved. So even if you do a little bit contribution, your name will be scratched in the history of mathematics forever. So that's so you should, that's very exciting in a way. Pythagoras is dead for 2500 years, but we still know his name because he contributes something original in mathematics. So that's the main idea. So if you are past the school level, in a way you are in a better position to focus all your energy toward research. Let's say you are, if you do undergraduate in India, let's say college and masters in India, you at least have a run time of 3 to 5 years in India. That's a lot of time to know new things and reach the frontier of knowledge in that particular area, and then solve a new problem. It's very much possible. People do it all the time. So you should be doing that, and then try to apply for universities outside India if you want. Okay. All right.
Yes, sir.
So Dakshita Agarwal, please go ahead.
Sir, I wanted to know that in order to apply for the internship, how can we ask, or where should we ask?
You can always put it in the help center WhatsApp group. uh, are you a student of Chinta?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you have a personal WhatsApp group. You can always say there that I want to participate in the Math Circle internship, and if you have an opening, please let me know. The immediately the admin will register your name, and they will let you know as soon as something opens up.
Okay, sir. Thank
Okay.
you so much.
Okay. So now I also have certain questions in the Q&A part. So there is a question that how can my son like grade 11 enroll with Chinta for a research project? Okay, I think I answered this question already. The second one was how can we start on research in mathematical projects independently? So one way to go about it, and this is a very good question, one way to go about it is to read existing work. So if you read journals like the one that I showed you, if you read existing work, then you will know what problems people are actually working on right now. And usually in the journal articles, they mention other problems that are open, that are not known. Then you can maybe take up one of those problems. That's a usual way to start a new project. You see what is being discussed, you find out what is unknown, and then you work on that. What is the minimum grade requirement? Usually we had students from ninth grade onward actually, so that's fine. How can we practice RMO level problems like proof based problems? So, this is a very good question, though it's not related with research, it's still related with Olympiad. So, I'll talk about that one. It's a very important question actually. How can we study RMO level problems, which are proof based problems? And the main strategy is this, I call it the positive feedback loop. So, what is the positive feedback loop? Well, you start trying a problem, of course, and then suppose you do not succeed, then you try it some more, and if you still do not succeed, then what you do is you there is a chance that you might be demotivated. After you try for some time, you might be demotivated. You might think that you may need more tools to solve that problem. It might not be true. It could be an elementary problem that can be solved just by ingenuity, but you may think that. People get demotivated all the time. So, what do you do? What you do is you see other people giving you hints to problems which you can then solve. Think about it, think about what I just said. You need to solve a problem completely to get out of the demotivation loop. That is the positive feedback what you need. How do you get the positive feedback loop? How do you get that psychological space? What you do is you either go ahead and attend one of the problem solving sessions where you solve interesting problems with the mentor or the teacher. That brings back some of the confidence. Or if you are not enrolled in Chinta or some other place, you can always go to YouTube channels like Chinta's YouTube channel or other YouTube channels, and there are a lot of problems which are solved there. So I usually suggest that you watch it for first 2 minutes, then try to solve that problem a little bit on your own, then watch the next 2 minutes, then you try to solve it some more, and finally you watch the entire video, and that would give you the entire solution. You will feel that you have accomplished something. That gives you a psychological motivation. Okay, now I have accomplished something. Now I could solve something. Now let's get back to the problem that I could not solve and try it some more. That's how you should go about RMO or INMO type problems, where a lot of thought is necessary. Okay, now let's go to Manish. Do you still have question or is it from before? Okay,
Yeah, this is about physics. Do you also take on physics research projects?
we don't actually. At the moment, we don't. Okay, all right. So I think I have another raised hand from Flaunchik. I don't know what's your name.
Yeah, yeah, hi sir. Just one small question is that, from what grade kids can start involving into research, or
We have
the
had
age group?
yeah, we have had students who have done it from ninth grade onward, but they were working in the Math Olympiad program for several years before that. So they already have a maturity and a problem solver's mindset. It's very important to understand that the mathematical Olympiad training, it's important from for the actual math Olympiads, of course, but it also sets the mind to handle more complex activities like research. So that's one of the reasons why we prefer people who have done an extensive Olympiad training for an extensive amount of time. We are sure that they have the maturity to handle something more complex. So I would say either ninth grade, if you have been working on Olympiad type training for a few years, or just do Olympiad type training for at least a year, and then apply for a project.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, anyone? Okay, so if not, you can always ask me questions, ask us questions in the WhatsApp groups that you have been added to. Thank you all for joining in today. It was pleasure. I will. Okay, I think there is one more question from Aparna. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, Dr. Rashani. My son is in grade 5. I recently came across Chinta. So I am quite new to this Olympiads and everything. So, from what grade these Olympiads start and from when he can start the training? Can you speak a bit more on that? Because this is one of the first sessions of Chinta that I'm attending.
Okay, okay. So, I mean, this is a very good question
Thank you.
actually, because there are several students and several privately held Olympiads all over the place, and it's very confusing. The first part is that we start training students as early as first grade or second grade because we don't want to overload them with information, but we do want to expose them with interesting problems that requires a lot of thought, and that is a practice that people should be doing for an extended amount of time. So that's one part. Start as early as you can. The second part is that the Olympiads that are actually useful for a sixth grader, well, if you are in India, I'm assuming, are
He's
you
in fifth.
okay? Are you in India? Are you an Indian citizen? Is a student an Indian citizen?
Yes, that we are in India. Yes.
Okay, so if you are an Indian citizen, the only Olympiad that actually matters in the long run is the IOQM, RMO, and INMO. IOQM is the first level, RMO is the second level, INMO is the third level. It's organized by the Department of Atomic Energy and Homi Bhabha Center. It's the only official Olympiad in India. All other Olympiads, I'm not naming anything, but all other Olympiads are completely useless. Not only useless, some of them have negative impact on how the student thinks about problem solving. Some of them provide mechanical problems in the name of Olympiads, and then the student thinks, okay, I need to do this type of problems to be successful, and then their mindset completely changes. This is so we have to be very careful about choosing the right contests. At Chitta, we just recommend two contests at the fifth grade level just for practice. They do not have any long term so called academic value, but they have a practice value. So the two contests are Math Kangaroo, which is a very nice contest, has a very nice set of problems, and the Australian Math Competition, which is also a very nice problem set. They do not have any so-called academic value in the sense you cannot tell that okay, I've done well in this, can you give me a scholarship or admission? No, that doesn't work. But it gives a good practice, and they can then build their way to the actual Olympiads, which are IOQM, RMO, and INMO. So that's what I can tell you about the Olympiads at fifth grade. Okay. All right.
Uh, Tinta offer one-on-one training on these Olympiads that you're talking about?
We do offer that, but we strongly suggest that the student does group sessions because it's an Olympiad, so it's a sport. You have to see other people also performing in the sport. Again, it's not just about learning the math, it's about going into that psychological loop. It's a peer driven game. So you can choose a one-on-one thing, that's totally up to you, but again we suggest either a group session or at least a combination of group and one-on-one. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, last question, Manish VG. Do you have any other questions, or is it from before?
No, I think we are done. Thank you.
Okay, okay, okay. All right. Thank you everyone for joining in today. It was a pleasure. I'll see you in the next seminar. Until then,